Hi, Crystal here from Space to Love, and I am with one of my favorite clients, one of my first clients actually, that found me on Yelp, I don't know, 6 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
I think it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And we're having a lunch, we're hanging out.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we were just talking about reminiscing about our organizing and everything that we've actually done since day one.
So many years.
And so I'm wondering, like, when did you feel comfortable having me in your space? Like, how long did it take?
I mean, for me, I think it was pretty instant. We were reminiscing a little while ago about how my first two organizer experiences were not very good. And so when you came, it was like, oh my gosh, this is normal and fun. I never felt judged. I never felt like you were like, oh my God, I can't believe this girl needs 35 towels. It was like, I get your needs. Like, let's make it work and find the right situation for it.
Right.
And so that was helpful. And I still have those moments today where I'm like, oh my God, Crystal would laugh at me. Like, I'm still holding on to all my baby clothes. And I like tell my mom all the time, I laugh with her and I'm like, oh my God, see, she's made spaces for all the stuff that she knows I can't get rid of. So it's been like, I don't know. It doesn't feel uncomfortable.
Oh, that's No, I love that you mentioned that, because people are like, oh, I have to get rid of everything. And I'm like, no, you don't. That's not the point of organizing, right? It's really finding the perfect amount of stuff and then finding the space to actually make it work.
I feel like you're good at respecting people, like where they're at, because like maybe I'm totally okay with getting rid of every single cup and plate I have, but I'm really not ready for the baby girl clothes. So it's like finding, like, you're good at finding people's soft spots or like what they might be good, you know, just finding that like
designing the closet, your closet, drafting the closet and having your carpenter come over.
That was amazing. I feel like that shoe rack in the back, and then like I feel like before it was just like one big line of dresses, and then we found ways to make cubbies because I couldn't see any of my stuff in the drawers, and so we made little cubbies, and then there was labels on all of the cubbies, and then there was one side that was all long stuff, and then at the end there was shoe rack. It was just so perfect.
I think that was what was most fun for me, was to know all of your stuff, like know everything that you have, and then be able to design a closet, like, well, this is how many boots she has, and this is how many flats she has, and like all your t-shirts are going to go here, and all your hanging clothes are going to go there.
I still miss that closet.
That's another thing. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I always say, like, okay, your memorabilia box might be really big, but if we look at this again in 5 years, a lot of the things in that box aren't going to be as important, right? Like as time goes on and things kind of subside, or whatever those memories were, you know, something that would be so devastating to let go of and would be sort of traumatic 5 years from now, or when your daughter's in college, and be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I might be ready. Fine. It's been 20 years or whatever. I'm finally ready. But still, like, things do have, I think your memorabilia does have, like, it does have a timeline.
I like the idea of scanning and taking pictures of it, and then you're like, okay, it's in my photo.
Still have it. Right. If I want to reference it or print, you could always print it out and have it again. Because I just had my all my playbills, because that was one thing that I did collect.
I remember that.
So I just I laid them all out. I took a picture and I let them go. And it's so funny because now I'm moving back to New York, right? So, and I'm moving with 4 suitcases, right? So that's all the stuff that I own, which is crazy. But you know, that's fine for me, right? And it's easier that I don't have kids, or I'm not married, and those. So, and then we talk about, like, how can I help somebody that has kids, and, you know, how can I relate? Which I feel like I always learn from my clients. And I think I learned so much from you. You have 4 children, right? And we, and one was born as we were working together, which was super special, and doing the nursery. And so I feel like we have so many memories of organizing.
I know.
Doing your daughter's nursery was so fun.
So fun. I know. And then you really, like, remember, like, I don't know, like all the, and then even at this new place, like, we reset up her nursery, and you were like, I remember this is it's like going back. No, I know. It's been so good.
I think nurseries, I think that one was really my start. So now, like, helping other moms, like, from what we learned, it's like, oh, and like, it's a swaddle, and like, so I feel like it's interesting. You were very patient with me when I wasn't, like, oh, it's a I don't know what a SWAT. Okay, well, we're gonna put all swaddles
No,
here.
I promise
And then
you
it's
all
like,
these devices
we
really
work.
work.
But it was great to be like, okay, so now I understand. So now I understand how to organize it for you,
Yes,
right? As soon as you
yes.
explained what it
Yeah.
was. So now I can actually do nurseries for other people. And then
Yes.
I had another client who was a first-time mom, and she was like, I was like, well, these are, you're going to need these, and you're definitely going to need your burping cloths here,
Yes.
and we're going to put these here. And she's like, oh, what are
Does
those?
this all mean? Yeah.
Don't worry, it's all going to work out that day.
And like knowing that like babies, it changes so fast that it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna need the burp cloths for the first 3 months and then you're done. And then the sizing as they go, and like having a system where like you phase out clothes and then like either store it if you have another baby or like, you know, whatever, but like knowing that it's like you have to have a
So
system in
fast.
place because it just will all pile up.
Yep.
And then you'll have 3 to 6 month clothes when they're 12
No,
months
it's-
and be like, why is it still here? So having like a fast system where you can really get stuff in and out of there.
And I think we were able to come up with that, and now I like help other clients do that too, because it's like, you know, we're being like one, you know, newborn, 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, 9 to 12 months, and it's like, oh, but it's like you feel like they do grow so fast, and now actually, and then watching your kids grow is just like so great, and the needs of them changing and your needs changing, where we were just able to like keep, you know, moving along.
Yeah, and I feel like playroom eventually becomes like homework room. It's like, you know, so with kids, things evolve a lot and their needs change. And like the little toys become big toys or Legos or, you know, new things get introduced. So always having like a good person to come in and help you figure out.
Right, and having like a base system, right, and you can actually, they're interchangeable as they grow.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
So what was your favorite thing about having an organizer?
Oh, just for me, it's so overwhelming having, but like my favorite part was just, I love just the weight that gets lifted. Like when our kitchen was finally like all labeled with the jars and you walk in and like you want to cook, you want to be in your kitchen, and it becomes almost like any space of your house becomes enjoyable and peaceful. And I think that's so important when you have 4 little kids running around and there's so much chaos all the time that like finding organization and like going into your bathroom and having it all like, you know, where everything is, or even like for kids having a place where you tell them like, oh, that's where the blocks go, that's where this goes. Just the comfort, it just feels good. And for me, like every time you left, I was like, oh, look at my drawers, and I'd like open them like with excitement, and like you see what you have and you're inspired to cook and you're inspired to wear new clothes because that dress isn't hiding in the corner, and like you see all your shoes. It's the like visual of seeing all your stuff but really beautifully displayed, and the excitement that comes with that. And then, you know, and then just having like the touch-ups and like knowing that like it unless you're like perfect, you're gonna need a little bit of like maintenance every once in a while to be like, okay, let's get back to like clear.
That's interesting. That's another thing, because you're like, well, you're just going to organize it once and then never come back. And you know, and I know that some people are like, I'm just afraid it's going to get unorganized again. And I think, you know, I always try to remind people that we live in a consumeristic society. When you have kids, they're coming home with more homework, they're coming home with their crafts, they're coming home with all these things that they've, or a kid's party, right? So so there's no way that you can actually just do it once and then it stays that way. There's always that maintenance.
No, and like your things change, like even the kitchen stuff, like maybe 1 month you get a lot of rice and then the next month your kids hate rice and they want this and then that snack changes, and life is always flowing and changing. So knowing that like you can aim for that perfection, but like things are going to constantly like be changing. So just like maintenance and finding new systems, and like for me, I love the idea of like rearranging and finding new uses for different things that you weren't using before, and like changing a space and being, you know, like, oh my God, this is so much better this way. Like, why didn't I think of that? But sometimes it takes 2 people. Like you need that creativity, you need that like different perspective or a different eye to be like, no, we're looking at this all wrong. Like, let's move this table here. And that opens up the whole, and you're like, thank you. Like I couldn't see it that way. So just having someone to like bounce ideas off of, I think there's a lot of creativity in organization. And I think if you don't have like the right creative energy with someone, or like they're just seeing, I don't know, but you're good at that. Like I think creatively we worked well together.
I think so too, because you were very clear about what you wanted. You're like, okay, this is my space. This is what I need in this space to happen. Like, this is what ideally I would like. And how could we make that happen? So that was always fun to be like, all right, well, let's
like
see what we can do. We're
out.
gonna make this work and try and come up with something. So, to always be like sort of pushed to be like a little more creative, or like, how can we like be innovative? How can we use something for something else and make it work? And I also think when you were talking about the maintenance part, right? So you're like, the first initial like when we organized in the beginning, we were doing the shed, we were doing all these different, there was like so much purging, so many things we need to get rid of. It was very overwhelming, so I could see why maybe the other organizer kind of bailed.
Yeah. She walked into that shed. She's like, check please. I'll come back, and then never came back. I was like, no, you left me with all these boxes and stuff. Like, what do I do?
So I think that's kind of funny. But then after that, it was never that bad.
No.
It was always just
it's like just getting through that one initial like big purge, and then it just becomes a system. And I feel like for you and I, it was more just like a new kid was coming in, or like, something was changing, and I was like, oh my God, Crystal, I need you.
Right.
We need a big clothes thing. So like we would size one kid out and then move all the next size to the next kid, but it's a process when you have a lot of kids.
And I love that process that we created in your shed. It was like, okay, so this is 3 to 4 years, and then this is 5 to 6 years, and we know that your youngest son is definitely going to be wearing these clothes. And so, is there anything that you want to say about Space to Love, working with me, or if somebody was like looking to hire a professional organizer, and what would you recommend? Like, you should definitely hire a professional organizer. It's going to change.
I would say that it has changed my life in the sense that I see things differently. Like before, like I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to do it, but like working with you and Space to Love has really made me like understand the system and like how it needs to be done and the steps that need to be taken. And even though it's very helpful to have you there, like it also gives you that confidence to do it on your own. Like the steps, like purge, systems, and like I think that you gave me that like foundation of how to do it, and now I kind of know how to. I mean, I have you come still because like they're big projects. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need an extra hand, or like even when I just moved and do the whole garage. So there's times where like it's really helpful. You need more than one person, but like in terms of daily maintenance, I feel like I've been able to, like I've learned how to make my life organized, and I use your little system. I'm like, okay, what would Crystal do? So do it. Get an organizer. It changes your life.
Great, because I was yes, oh my God, that's so wonderful, because I always think transferring skills, like you're going to learn something during this process.
Yes, 100%.
Yep, and I think that's why it's you don't have to be there, but you want to be there because you're going to benefit from it.
100%. Yes, like learning the system is so important. And it works. It really works. Like, I swear I use it all the time. I'm like, I have to organize this drawer. And I'm like, okay, purge, do this, like sections, likes with likes, and, the whole thing. And I totally use it.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yes.
All right, well, thanks.
Thank you.
This has been a wonderful afternoon.
I know. We had so much fun.
Yes. All right, well, thanks for watching, and see you next time.